Hi, everyone. I have Julie Novack with us today. She is the founder of Slate, my absolute favorite place to hang out when it comes to all things inspiration, weddings, and events. And I consider her to be a dear friend. And I'm super excited to have you today. I've been on it for you've been on my list. I want you on a podcast for so long.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We have so much to talk about today.
I think we need like 10 hours
We
to
need
talk,
10
but I bet
hours.
we don't have 10 hours.
It is 93 degrees. I think I woke up to 6 degrees in Chicago. It's snowing. So I'm happy that we're home and cozy and able to do this.
Yes.
Well, how are you? How have you been?
Wow. I always don't, not quite sure how to answer that because it's been like the most stressful, crazy year, but also the most exciting and so many breakthroughs that have happened in Party Slate. So many silver linings, but I'm mainly optimistic about the world opening back up again. And one thing I've learned is I've always believed, inspired events inspire people, to do great things. I really do believe events play a really critical role in our culture and connecting people. But now that we've been so disconnected due to the pandemic, I think people really value it even more. I think there's going to be like a pendulum swinging back to, people having celebrations for no reasons, people having family reunions that they didn't used to have before, or multiple celebrations at once. So I'm just excited to I see light at the end of the tunnel to celebrate again.
I'm praying. I'm hoping to see that light too, because I feel like we're just going day by day. So
Day
that
by day, yeah.
how are you is like, what day are we
Yeah,
talking about? At
yeah,
the moment, I'm okay.
yes.
Okay, but I'm glad you said that, and I love talking to you because like things just vibe and we just chat so naturally. But you said something that's key. I think a lot of people during the pandemic were very hesitant to do what they do, right? To show up or post stuff. But what we do is bring joy and inspiration to other people. And I felt like that was all we could contribute at that time is some sort of hope or joy.
Yes,
So
I agree 100% that some people have said, hey, Julie, do you think we should stop posting because, the pandemic, is it tone deaf? And I always answer with a caveat. You have to, in your post, be aware of the world we're living in. And so what I found great is people still want their celebration. They want their dream wedding. They want their big corporate event they've been thinking about or planning for years. You just have to put it in the context of, remembering this fabulous event. We'll celebrate soon. We had a hashtag celebrate soon,
yeah,
or simple outdoor events that really can, are relative smaller events for the time. But I think it's really important to stay in the conversation. You don't want to shut down. You have to keep people inspired and you have to stay relevant. And so I know, Akesha, you've done such a good job. You are a content machine, just always
thank you.
creating
I
content,
try. I'm trying.
inspiring. You are inspiring people. And at Party Slate, for those people who are watching who don't know it, we're really an inspiration platform, but more importantly, connecting people that want to plan really great events to the event professionals and venues in the area they're looking to plan it, whether it's a destination event or an event right here in Chicago. They can come find new ideas, not just for weddings, but galas and mitzvahs. And, we really believe inspiration can come from anywhere, not just your type of event. And then, create a place where, people can find those professionals that actually did those things that inspire them. And
Yeah.
so, we just had to keep the conversation going. So our social media team is in overdrive. It's just we changed our tone. We changed a little bit of the content that we created, but always knowing that the world will open up again. This is
Yeah.
temporary.
For sure. So tell us a little bit about, and I love all of that, by the way, like Party Slate is, I love you guys. You guys do things, it seems effortlessly. Geez, I can get my words out,
Yeah.
but everything just seems to flow and, it's at the right time, it's the right amount. But I'm curious as to what you did before Party Slate.
Yes. So I am a digital geek. I literally, believe it or not, started my career in banking. For some reason, I thought I was going to be, wear these suits and go to power lunches and be a big banker. And after 5 or 6 years working at a bank through a management training program, I actually, this will date me. I started the online banking group. I co-founded that group.
No way.
Yeah, the second I saw like America Online in the early days and the internet, I'm like, this is going to change everything. I had this reaction when I saw it for the first time. Like, it just struck me. And literally within a month, with two other people, we started this online banking group at it was at First Chicago, now Chase. And I just fell in love with the digital space. I found my passion, and then my digital agency hired me a year later. So we got that group up and running. And then I'm like, I have to do this full time. I just thought, like, creativity and technology and interactivity all in one place. It was like a dream career for me. So I left the bank. My mom's like, you're leaving the bank for a digital agency? Like, what even is a digital agency? So I knew it was going to be big. I stayed at that company called agency.com for about 10 years. I did about every different role you can imagine. And ultimately, even in those early days, I loved parties and events and fundraisers. I think some people call me the social mayor of Chicago. I was very social, which is funny now because I'm like exhausted on the couch with 3 kids. But at the time, I really, really wanted the internet to help me plan these events, and there wasn't anything. So this was like 15, 20 years ago. The ideas started churning back then, but I loved my digital agency career. I was at agency.com for 10 years, working with some of the biggest brands in the world with their digital strategy and digital presence. And then I went over to Razorfish to be the general manager of the Chicago office and grew to a regional role there. So I really have about 20 plus years of digital agency experience. But this whole time, Akashi, I'm telling you, I wanted to start my own business. I didn't have the confidence to do it. And what gave me the confidence after I started thinking about Party Slate, it was literally 3-4 years, is when I saw Houzz, Houzz, the home decor site.
Love.
It struck me because I was redesigning a kitchen that this was the thing I was ruminating about. This was like, I put it together like, I love this platform so much. Imagine if I had something like this, but for all the events I'm planning. And again, I was never an event professional.
Yeah.
I was the party host. I was the one hiring you to
Right.
help me with my corporate events and to help me with all these other things. So Houzz gave me that confidence. For 2 years, I was putting a business plan together. I was dreaming out loud, especially when I had a few cocktails. I'm like, I'm starting this company. And they're like, when are you doing it, Julie? So I dreamt out loud for 2 years. I put the business plan together. And finally, my husband's like, you got to do this. I'm like, oh shit, that was my last barrier. Like, you got to do this. And so I quit my job the next week and
Wow.
I raised $1 million. And it wasn't so easy, but friends and family and my network. And I hired my first, I got my co-founder, John Harrow, who I've worked together for 15 years. So like we know each other really well. He's tech and product and I'm sales and marketing. And together we're like two halves or two sides of a coin, like very different, but yet needed for a tech company. And that was 5 years ago. So 5 years of building Party Slate and so many ups and downs, but I love it every single day. I feel so lucky, even on bad days, when things don't go right, like I love our team. I love what we're doing. And I just feel really lucky to work in this industry.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. I'm like completely inspired. So I have a question. So people think that once you have your idea and you launch the business, everything goes smoothly, right?
Yeah.
It's all smooth sailing from there. Was there ever a time when you talked yourself out of launching Party Slate?
Well, so the 2 or 3 years of putting the business plan together, I had friends that were venture capitalists. I met with a lot of really smart people, and a lot of people, will say, "Oh, it's two-sided marketplaces are impossible because you can't get the people there unless you get the content. And how do you get the content when there's no people there yet at the beginning?" Yeah. And so there's a lot of people that can really discourage you and make it seem really hard. But I was so inspired to do it, and I couldn't sleep at night thinking about it, and I'm like, someone else is going to do it, I got to do it. Like, if you're not obsessed with the idea, don't start a business. Because too many things, well, I had met with 50 venture capitalists and you get 48 no's and you maybe get 2 yeses. So like, it's different than sales that I'm used to, like, oh, 25-30% you win, whatever. With venture capital, it's like, you meet with 40 and you get 1 or 2 yeses if you're lucky. And so you have to love your idea so much. But I had a lot of people, say it's too hard. The market size isn't big enough. I'm like, the events industry, I don't think people realize it's like $150 billion industry. in the
Huge.
US alone. Huge,
Yeah.
not just weddings, corporate and
Yeah.
galas, mitzvahs. And so I think, yes, I had many moments where like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then I finally, after having this talk with my husband, who I didn't need permission from, but I almost needed that confidence
Yeah.
to do it. That's when I'm like, I'm going to do this. And so it was probably a 2 or 3 year journey of really hashing it over, business plan, meeting with mentors, and then finally getting the confidence to quit my job.
Okay, so let's talk about that process. So I think that people miss that step of, I feel like that's the rough step, right? Of like, what do I, okay, now you have this passion, you have this idea, which is fantastic. We see that now, but you didn't know, you didn't
No.
know anything about how it was going to go down, right? So the first thing you did was to write up a business plan?
Yeah, and,
Or,
and again, it doesn't need to be like 100-page document. It can be a deck, a slide docs, Google Slides, whatever, where you have like 20 slides. And really, what I always say is, you have to start with your why first. What problem are you solving? And for a marketplace, you're solving two problems. For event professionals, we want to be a really easy, seamless way for you to build your brand and take all your great digital content. And you don't have to be a developer, and you don't have to make it really easy to share your work and to build your brand and grow your business. For people like me that love to plan parties, we want a curated source for inspiration and no more Pinterest dead ends. And again, we love Pinterest. We drive a lot of traffic to Party Slate, but I get frustrated on Pinterest when I find something I like and then like it turns out to be a fake event and there's no credits, and it's kind of the wild west. So we wanted to help people make the planning process and the inspiration process more fun and more curated, easier, and then also help them identify the best of the best in their local market. And so you start with the why, the what you're doing, and then you really need to go into how you'll make money. Very important if you're
right?
going to make money. What does the competition look like? What makes you different or unique from solutions that are out there already? We knew there was a lot of wedding only, but we knew that we wanted to be mitzvahs, galas, corporate, everything. And we thought that would be a more scalable model. And then we also decided, like House, we were going to be this photo and video rich platform versus like a Yelp listing. There's a lot of directories, we call them the directories out there, and they're probably all coming after everyone. What makes us different is we really want it to be this place where you can take all your professional photos and all your professional videos and put them in one place and use it as a portfolio sharing tool in addition to a business growing tool. And so that was our big differentiator. And so you have to really kind of put a plan together how you're going to be 10 times better than the next best solution. Otherwise, you're not going to raise money. And again, if you don't need to raise money, more power to you. If you can do something really small and get traction, that is actually the best way to start a company. With a technology company, especially because I'm not a coder, I wish I was, I need to hire a team to
Yeah.
do that. And so I needed to raise money in order to start Party Slate.
Yeah. And I think that's a smart move too, like understanding. And I think by digging deep into your business plan, it became clearer what you needed
Yeah.
to make Party Slate flourish,
Yeah.
right? Versus just do it half-assed. So like
Yeah.
you actually just put it all, and then you knew how much you needed
Yes.
in a business plan together.
You need to know how much do you need to raise, and it's always twice as much as you think, by the way,
Right.
to get to your first set of milestones. And so,
Yeah.
for example, Party Slate's first set of milestones could be get 1,000 event professionals to share their work on Party Slate and drive 20,000 people to the site. So like getting the marketplace dynamics going. We weren't selling the first 2 years. It was all about building and building. And that's another reason why technology companies need venture capital, is that it's not like starting a services business where you can be profitable right away. It's like building a skyscraper. You have to get financing for the skyscraper. And then when the skyscraper is ready, you can start leasing and making money with that skyscraper. And that's really what a technology company is.
Yeah, and that's key to know, like just looking. And I think, but it sounds like you kind of envision Party Slate in tiers, like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years in, and you really understood that the first 2 years was not about making money, it was about building an online presence and gaining trust and growing your following, right?
Yeah,
And you had a plan to kind of keep you afloat during that time. I
exactly.
think that sometimes in business, people halt because they're not realistic with
Yeah.
those milestones or those tiers, so to say.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of the milestones that you mentioned. Like, first, it's just like, it could be like for a wedding planner, for example, your first milestone could be, I want to book my first
Yep.
wedding at this budget. And that's what
Exactly.
we're celebrating,
And
right?
or it could even be before that. Let's say you have zero planning experience and
Yeah.
you are enamored, you want to get in this business. Your goal could be, I want to be a free intern working with the best of the best on
Mhm.
3 weddings within the next 6 months. And maybe it's a side hustle that you do. Just putting together milestones. And I always say, write them down. Write down those milestones, put them on your mirror, whatever you need to do, but start somewhere. I think people think like overnight they want to become a Keshi, and that's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
what are you going to do your first 6 months? You're brand new, to get the experience you need. Like when people want to start their own company and they're like 22, and yes, there's the Mark Zuckerbergs, there's others, but I always say work at a startup first.
Mhm.
Work for 2 years at a startup. Get to know what it's like to manage a board, what it's like to raise money. Do those things first. Have patience. Again, I was in my 40s when I started my business. You don't need to be 25 to have a tech startup. And in fact, I think there's been a lot of research that showed that older founders, and I'm one of them, have a higher success rate because we've just seen more.
Yeah.
I've managed through 9/11. I've managed through other crises. I've managed, everything you can imagine, from an alcoholic to a sexual harassment suit that I had to settle. It wasn't against me, but someone on my team. I've seen it all. And 23-year-olds, I think it's really hard to want to jump in and start your own company.
The
If
life
you
experience is
Yeah,
great.
and I don't want to discourage anyone if they want to start young, but get a job at a startup, maybe
Yeah.
10, 12 employees, and learn what it's like to start from nothing to a $20 million business. Like, just
Yeah.
see that path.
Yeah. Well, you should be so proud of the business that you have built and you continue to build. It's just growing and it's amazing.
Thank
It
you so
truly
much.
is. And you're
And
you.
I my team makes me look good. I could not do it without my team. Seriously. Like, I do all these webinars, as you know, every week since the pandemic, and I do like email marketing and SEO. Like,
I don't know how
I
you
am the
do it.
front person and I understand it all, but it's my team that
Yeah.
I have the email marketing SEO experts, the product designers, like they are who really inspire me. And yes, I'm the mouthpiece and I love to be on stage, as you know, but it's my team that really, and my co-founder John, that really has helped build this incredible platform. And we feel like we're just getting started. We make
Yeah.
mistakes, we're learning things, but we see the vision and we see where we're going. And we truly believe this pandemic has given us some time to even slow down and think even further about our strategy and how we win. And so maybe there is some, again, these silver linings of this
For
painful
sure.
year that we've been through.
Yeah, with the exception, like when I think about silver lining, with the exception of all the tragedies, it's the other side of it is that pause that makes you really look at the business, your process, your strategies, your
Yes.
services, and what's not serving you anymore, what you don't like, because you don't get that moment of quiet and
Yes.
pause. So that's amazing. When
Yeah.
did you know you needed a mentor?
Um, I, from the very beginning, I remember when I first decided to quit my job, I met with my friend who's a venture capitalist. I'm a master networker. And so I'm like, the more help, even though I have run a, $50 million business when I was at Razorfish, like even though I have a lot of business experience, I had never done my own company, my own tech startup. And so my first mentors were venture capitalists and other founders, especially female founders. I'm very passionate about helping female founded companies and really helping other people because so many people have helped me. But very early on, I got some people to surround me that believed in me and helped me, and then ultimately became investors, which is great. And I always tell people, sometimes you can just go to an investor and ask for mentoring and ask for advice, and then they like your idea and end up investing. So it's actually a good way to raise money, is to look for people that want to help you.
Yeah, I asked that because like Party State is obviously very successful, but a lot of people don't think that or don't even think about the idea of a coach or a mentor
Yes.
And I
I think
think
it's so important.
it's something you should always have.
Yes.
Because I love that phrase where it says, like, if you are the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yes. I
Is, you
love
know what
that.
I mean? The goal is to always throw yourselves and learn
Yes.
more. And there's always a next level of success that you want to achieve.
Yes. And I
And
love your mentoring group and your coaching group helping so many people take their business to the next level. And I know I told you this already. When I attended your workshop, I was like blown away. Not only was there mentoring happening, but hands-on, demos and experiential events. I just think that's the best way to learn, is really to be hands-on and to create those relationships. So yeah,
yeah,
and we also went through like your version of your workshops called Techstars. So we were in a very prestigious technology incubator in Chicago, but it's a national group called Techstars. And that was 3 months of the best, amazing mentors you can imagine. It was like boot camp for startups, like
love.
analytics, growth, managing your board, how to raise money, all this stuff. And again, part of me thought, oh, we don't need this. We're older founders. We got so much out of Techstars. And so I believe everyone, whether you can afford to pay to be in like a mentoring group, or you find mentors, or even have like a personal board of directors, that
Yeah.
people that hold you accountable for things,
Yeah.
I really, really encourage everyone to do that.
I agree 100%. 100%. Because I'm like, you never stop learning and there's always something new. So I bet you came out of that 3-month training like, wow.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was
Doing
very
everything wrong.
overwhelming. Yeah. It was,
Yeah,
and
I
even
agree.
if you do 20% of it, like you can't
Yeah.
do everything. There's
Mhm.
so many times, and again, the Techstars was 4 years ago, that we talk about, vanity metrics, meaning like, yes, this is growing, but how much per month are we growing? What's our growth rate versus just going up? So there's so many things that go back to Techstars that we learned there, that really has helped us be honest with ourselves about what's working, what's not, what we need to invest in. So I really encourage people to, get a coach, get a mentor, and try it. I know people are like, oh, paralyzed, like I don't have the money. I think there's coaching groups that are very affordable, like groups that you can join. And then
Remember?
if you, I
Yeah.
know you have that too. And then if you want one-on-one coaching, you can always upgrade to that.
Mhm.
But I really feel that it shows you're serious about your business.
Yes. And it's an investment in you and your business and your growth. And then in the end, like, who doesn't want to grow?
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, sometimes we're doing business all wrong and we're doing it the hard way. There's an easier way,
Yeah.
right? Instead
Yeah,
of
you should always be learning and expanding your skills. Like even our head of marketing, there's this incredible Silicon Valley digital course by Reforge, like the best growth marketers, marketplace marketers in the world. And it's like $1,500. And trust me, we don't have big budgets, but that $1,500, what she learns from that program and brings back to Party Slate, could make a huge impact on how we grow and how we expand. So I'm a big believer in, when you can afford it and start small, to always look to better yourself in some
yeah.
way and to grow, because that's your biggest asset, is how you lead better, you inspire your team. It's really important.
Yeah, I think that people don't look at that like there's I can afford it. It's not that you can afford it. It's not a priority. You're not making it a priority because you can afford other things. You can
Yes.
afford to shop and you can afford to dine
Right.
out,
Yeah.
right? But when it comes to business and mentoring and coaching, people don't. Anyway, okay. So Party Slate, how it's 5 years?
Yes. 5 years. We were
So five
supposed to have our 5-year anniversary party
uh
in November in LA. Like we had our
yeah, oh
4-year
my
in New
God.
York. It was beyond my wildest dreams. It was so incredible. And so when the world opens up again, we'll probably have our 5th and 6th anniversary party together.
Yeah, no, that I will be there.
Okay, good. You better be there.
So 5 years in, Party Slate is growing and doing fantastic. And in 2020, good old pandemic hit.
Yes. Yes. So we were
Okay.
supposed to, triple in size this year.
Uh,
And by a miracle, we stayed flat. And I think that I'm really proud that we
good. Yeah.
grown instead of, going down. But what we did when the pandemic hit, and I wrote a blog entry about this for World Business Chicago, about the 5 lessons learned from COVID. One of the first things we did is, number one, you got to check in with the team because everyone's going to hit, we have 32 employees. This
Wow.
is going to hit, some people have toddlers at home, some people have anxiety, some
Yeah.
people have a lot of different things. So, really double downing on team check-ins and how are you doing, and that personal care, making sure that people are doing okay. And one person took a leave of absence, some people changed their schedule. So like that was number one, is making sure people were okay. Number two, we knew we had to reduce kind of our spend. So we were planning to grow from 30 to 90 people, or 30, whatever, literally like over 2-year period. We cut all hiring because again, we need to extend our runway, because in venture backed businesses, you're raising pretty much every 2 years, and so we extended our runway. So we stopped the hiring. We got out of our bigger lease. We were moving into the same building, luckily. So we got that down. But then the most important thing we did is, how can we be here for our industry that is going to be not only in pain now, but for some time? And so our digital event series that we, every single Tuesday, we are doing, SEO best practices, email marketing, Pinterest. We had a great event with you on content marketing. Every single week, we put out really great content for free to the industry. And the only thing we hoped in return is people would remember that Party Slate really gave to the industry when it needed help, and that would help build our brand and say, hey, I should create a free profile on Party Slate, or I'm interested in a premium membership to build my brand. And it really did help us a lot, but we feel good about helping the industry. So that's the next thing. And then the product team said, what can we do to add more value to our premium members? And we built 7 new features for premium members, such as meet the team, testimonials, multiple cover photos, an announcement feature, unlimited credit events, all these things to show love for our premium members that keep the lights on. And that is also good for search engine optimization. So that's another thing, like really, really quickly, we accelerated. We were going to do these things anyway, but we accelerated launching those features for our premium members. And so I'm proud of our team. Like we didn't maybe we hid under a table for like 3 days and cried, but after that,
I was right there with you. Don't worry.
Yeah. After that, I literally was in Las Vegas when this hit for the special event. I was speaking at the largest event conference in the country. And I was with industry leaders that are like, I just lost $3 million in business with 4 texts. The world shut down while I was there. I came home on a red eye with 2 people from my team, with people with masks, and no one knew what was going on. It was crazy. So we took some time to check in with the team. We sent everyone home. We got on Zoom. We added daily stand-ups. And then we really went to work on how are we going to make it through this really tough time. And so the 2 things, investing in a product and our premium members and providing the thought leadership, I think was really what got us through this incredibly challenging.
Right. But the lesson from that too, when you were talking, is the first thing was, it wasn't how can we make more money, which should be always in the back of every business's mind, but it was more, how can we show up for our industry, and how can we motivate, and how can we, and by showing up and serving your people, it helped the business. Because even when we were on, there were a lot of people in my audience that were like, what is Party Slate? How can you learn more? So it was just so great to tap into all these new audiences, but it started with service. And I think
it really did. And from the bottom of my heart, I love this industry. And I've worked in financial services and retail. This is my home. I love the events industry. I love the creativity. I love the people, the diversity. It's just such a great, great industry. From the bottom of my heart, we wanted to help. And I have had people send me emails and Instagram messages saying, your webinars got me through a really, really tough, isolating time. I felt like I was working on my business. I improved my LinkedIn. One person even sent us their analytics to show the things they did from our webinars, improving their analytics. I mean, it felt so good that I kind of found a new calling. I'm if I can help mainly small businesses, but hotels too, mainly small businesses become better digital marketers, become better content marketers, I feel like that there will be kind of pay it forward. There'll be kind of, our brand will be built in return. And so It wasn't about making money. It was about helping.
Yeah, and I felt that too. Even with your team checking in, I had some personal stuff. Like you guys reached out, sent gifts. It wasn't. I've never felt like this is about the next, payment. It
Yeah.
just felt more like people that truly cared. Even I remember after we did our session, your team sent an email like, "Oh my God, that was the most amazing!" Like I was like, oh, "What is happening?" Like,
Yeah.
okay, enough with all this love.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I remember during our session, like the chat was just like exploding, which is always a sign that people like the
yeah,
content,
yeah,
so
but even from your team,
yeah.
the team, they sent me emails and DMs later, like,
Oh, it's
"Oh my
awesome.
God, Kashi, you killed it. That was great." Next, I'm like, okay, so I think that what some people lost focus of during that pandemic was due to panic was just like that human connection and
Yeah.
compassion first, right? And then showing up to serve your people. So we were doing, Instagram lives. I was doing flowers. I was making
Yeah.
cocktails. I was like, join me
Yes.
for a little, anything just to bring joy.
Yeah.
So using the gifts that you have and the resources to give. And
Yeah.
when you give, it's just automatic. Good things come back and happen
I
to you.
agree 100%. I think in
Yeah.
this industry that's so networked and kind of referrals flow, freely, the more connected you stay to your network, the more value you add, the more connected, the more top of mind you're going to be when someone does have a referral for you or someone does, have something, a collaboration they want to do. So we
Yeah.
always say the most important thing is to add value and to stay relevant and be part of the conversation. And what some people didn't feel comfortable like sharing all these big events on Instagram because maybe it could be viewed as tone deaf. And we're like, listen, take this time to add it to your Party Slate profile because unlike Instagram, it's not going to blast it out like, oh, this is a new event. This is your portfolio sharing tool. So when someone's Googling, modern white wedding at the Four Seasons, you have a shot of showing up because you have all this content on your Party Slate profile.
And I
So
love that you can start with a free profile, right? So you
yes,
partysay.com/what again? I know.
it's slash pro. So it's partyslate.com/pro. And it's really, it's called in the tech world, it's called a freemium model. And you probably have other platforms where you can try it for a certain amount for free and
Mhm.
like get the feel for it. And then you're like, you know what? I just can't post my photos. I'm just too busy. I want someone to help me. Or you know what? I want to be above my competitor in the directory and you want more boosting. And so we offer 3 premium packages. And again, we have, a $95 a month. It's self-service package, but there is an entry level package to kind of unlock all these features. And then if you want more exposure, that's important to you, you want more exposure in the directory, there's kind of like the 3 like good, better, best type model. And it's very similar to what other technology platforms do. And you from MailChimp to, Yelp,
Right.
they're all very similar on like how much exposure and how much service do you want? And there's something for everyone.
I know. I was like, yeah, I have no time to upload anything. They're like, we do it for you.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll do it. Yeah.
and they've been so
So
great.
Mindy Weiss, celebrity planner in LA, most people know her. She said to me early on, she came on as an advisor, which I kind of stalked her for like a year, and she's like joined us, which is she was such a big help in the early days. She said, Julie, I know your platform's easy to use, like you can use it, and maybe some of the photographers and more the techie people are going to do it themselves, but I'm telling you, planners, decor companies, caterers, they're going to want you to do it. And that was some really good advice early
Yeah.
on. I'm like, no, it's so easy. And that's why our customer success team has done so well is just like send over a Dropbox. We'll add the credits for you. And of course, the description and can add and move the photos around, whatever you want, but we'll give you that push to get you started.
Yeah, I know they were like, send me, just give us the Dropbox, we'll
Yeah.
sort it out. And now I can go back and I can
Yes.
edit. And I
You can
love that.
refine and edit. Yeah.
Yeah, Katie would DM me if she sees something new I've launched. Like we just launched the second online course, and she's like, "Should I change your announcement?" I was like, "Okay," you
She's
know.
so great. I love Katie.
She's so like we chat in the DMs. I see her in Clubhouse, so it's just
Yeah.
great, and it feels like a family. And again, it feels authentic. I'm very big on authenticity
Thank you.
and like you said, having those connections, but it has to feel true and authentic. So that's one thing I love that you guys do. Okay, you already know what I'm dreaming of, but what's next for Party Slate?
So what's next for Party Slate is we are excited. We're doing a ton of research right now with party hosts or consumers.
Okay.
And we're really focused on, there's this framework, you can Google it. I'm getting very geeky now, called jobs to be done. And
Okay.
so we are really focusing on what are the key, when you're planning a large scale event, the key jobs to be done. We know there's things around inspiration, but specifically what can be different or unique about Party Slate's way you get inspired and connect with people. So we are doing a ton of research. So we're going to be investing in more consumer features, different ways that they can get inspired and different ways they can connect with pros. So that's number one. And then number two, we're really excited that we're launching kind of a dashboard called My Party Slate for event professionals. And event professionals will be able to go in and see how many people viewed their profile, what you can do to improve how to optimize your profile. Are you missing key sections of your profile that could make you perform better, either on search engine optimization or on Party Slate? And so it's kind of like your home base on Party Slate. And so that is launching in April. So I'm really, really excited about that. And then of course we continue to expand to new markets, and we can't do launch parties, so to speak, but we're really doing more digital marketing around, how do we get more event professionals, building our presence in areas that we're not in. We don't necessarily want to be we have pros in every city, but again, nothing against Rockford or Kansas. We're not focused on kind of second or third tier markets. We're focused on the top 20 metro areas in the US and getting more reach within those markets.
That's amazing. Oh my God. You're like a powerhouse.
And then global domination,
Global
Akeshi.
domination. And
Yeah.
why not, right? Do it.
Yeah.
So I'm here for all of it, and we'll be supporting and cheering
Thank
all the way.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So we were talking earlier before we started the session or recording about personal branding and
Yes.
why it's so important, because that is the one area I feel like people miss
Yeah.
so much. So let's just your thoughts on personal branding and why it's important.
Yeah, I always say start with, like, sometimes people think personal branding is like, I need a stylist and I need a headshot. That is not personal branding. Yes, that's nice to do that. And we have plenty of photographer friends, and yes, you should have that. But I always say, what are your three, I don't want to call them superpowers, but like things you're passionate about? And so for me, it doesn't have to be three, it can be two. My three bubbles of my personal branding is, obviously it's Party Slate and being a connector and a female founder, but I also love digital education and all these digital events I'm doing and sharing things with the events industry. That's another thing. And then I also really love helping female founders. And so I'm involved with women tech founders here in Chicago. I like doing mentoring with women that are starting their business. So I kind of reserve like once a week at 5 o'clock, probably every single week, like I had one this week, I am talking to a woman that wants to start a business and having like a real talk of setting milestones. Like I had someone that wanted to build an app, and I'm like, before you build an app, talk to 50 people about this idea and get milestones of research first before you go build an app. And so that makes me really happy. So my three areas, and it could be something different it's different for everyone, but you need to know, like, what are areas I can build content around? And I think people think not everyone can be Akeshi with original content. You can actually, by sharing content and posting about things that are out there, you can also build a personal brand about, like, pointing out incredible female founders and what they're doing without writing a huge blog entry or doing a video. Of course, original content is the best, but you can be a curator of content and also build a personal brand that way. So you have to first identify what are your three bubbles or two bubbles, and then build a strategy around that. And it has to be authentic. That's the key. It has to be like, I really do get excited about search engine optimization. Like I do. I know it's like geeky, but like, I get excited about, trying new things like Clubhouse. I know we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
And figuring out how do you balance that with trying to do a job and getting stuff done. So I think you just have to think about, what do you want to build your brand around, and then figuring out what are your top 2 or 3 channels to do that.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And obviously, what's your go-to channel? LinkedIn seems to be your vibe too, which is like,
I love LinkedIn.
I need to. I know I do, but like we got to pick what works, and we can't do it all.
You can't do everything.
I got to do my Pinterest and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But like, what's your go-to platform?
So for us, I mean, of course, being in the event industry, it's Instagram. So for Party Slate, Instagram is our number one channel. But I will say, Pinterest, do not underestimate Pinterest. We get a ton of traffic from Pinterest. And so what we do with our content on Party Slate, we have just over 900,000 photos, so going on 1 million photos. So we also push out all the great content from Party Slate to Pinterest and then drive people back to Party Slate. So Pinterest is in our ecosystem. So I say Instagram and Pinterest for the photo and video and inspiration side. But if you really want to talk about personal branding, I'm telling you guys, when someone Googles you, LinkedIn's going to be page one. Okay. So your LinkedIn profile, Google your name. So you don't have to be a master like poster in LinkedIn. Like I try to post like 4 or 5 times a week on LinkedIn, but just take 1 hour, put it in your calendar and just say, I'm going to make my LinkedIn profile amazing. Just 1 hour. Because people will land on that page when they're stalking you. So Google anyone you're going to go meet for coffee or have a Zoom. I dare you not to see their LinkedIn profile on page one.
That's good to know.
It will be on page one.
Anytime on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So don't even think like you have to, I got to do an hour of LinkedIn posting a week. Just as a starting point, again, this is always what I tell people about LinkedIn, just spend 1 hour on your profile. Make sure you have a great photos. If you have a great professional photo, 14 times the impressions with a professional photo. Again, people buy from people. Make sure you have your about section. That's just like if you ran into someone in the elevator and they say, what do you do? Tell your personal story. So just a couple paragraphs. And then, don't forget to have your professional history with a little description. It doesn't take more than an hour. 1 hour.
Okay. That's on my to-do now.
You can do it.
1 hour this week. I'm going to give.
And then I always tell people I'll review it for you. I love doing website reviews and LinkedIn reviews, Instagram reviews. And again, that builds new relationships for Party Slate. And sometimes it ends up people like, I'd interested to learn more about your membership. So I always say if you add value first, you got a better chance at building a good relationship.
For sure. So, and I know there was a session you guys did on LinkedIn, right?
Yes. So we have a recording of partyslate.com/digital events, or just Google Party Slate digital events. You'll find it. We had 2 great sessions on LinkedIn. It's everything you need to know about LinkedIn. And I'm not saying it should be your number one platform. Like I'm not saying that, but just know you will probably be surprised that people are looking at your LinkedIn profile before they meet with you.
I've heard that a ton of times. So this is it's just like, everyone's like, what? No way.
And it's not just for job hunting. People are like, they don't understand, like whatever is page one of Google when you're searching for it, that's where they're going to go. They're not looking for a job. They're looking like, who is Akeshi? Will I recognize her? And of course, they're going to look at your website. They're going to look at your Party Slate profile, but LinkedIn is in the mix.
We're going to add all the links to the show notes, by the way. So everyone listening can go ahead and click in. Those videos are up. They're free, right? All the digital events you guys have been doing are free. Did we freeze? Okay,
I'm back
for a second. So all the links, those events are free and people can watch them right now. And I think you have like 40 plus videos, or how many?
Yes, we've done about 40.
So watch my content. I had so much fun on that one. So when we talk about personal branding, the first thing you want to do is, I guess you said, just figure out what 3 unique things about yourself, or what's unique about you, what's different. And it's not all about taking pretty photos, although I think that you need to have a decent online presence.
Yes.
Right. And it's just fun to take pictures. Why not? To truly represent. But like you were saying, clean up your LinkedIn, spend an hour in LinkedIn, and just like you do. That's good to know. I would
put goals for yourself too on your personal branding. Like I know people get overwhelmed with blog entries and things like that, but maybe you put very simple goals, like 1 blog a month. I'm not talking 1 a week, like 1 a month. You have, 2 Insta stories a week. Like you again, not everyone can be a Akeshi. You're a rock star of content. But if you write down these simple goals, you have your content strategy first. Because I love it when people are like, oh, how often should I post? I'm like, slow down.
Right.
Before you think about how often you should post, what are you going to post?
Yeah.
And maybe it's like, I want to have closer relationship with venues. Maybe you have a whole venue strategy that you do 1 venue post a month about different venues you love to work with. So if you write it down and make it really simple, it is less overwhelming and you're more likely to have success.
Yeah, and I'm gonna repost. I think we can strip the audio from our session and put it on the podcast, so we have a part two to this, because we really dug into personal branding and how that ties into content. Because I think people miss those two things, like you
Yes.
said. They think,
It's especially with small businesses, it's one
yeah,
and the same. It really is, because you
that's
are your business.
your brand is you,
Yeah.
and that content, even the words for your captions are going to come from a like your personal perspective
Yeah.
of whatever it is you're writing about. Because I say, like, we can all have the same photos, but our caption is going to be different, and the emotions we evoke from that post is going to be different, and
Yes.
that's where that personal side is coming in. But personal branding for me is big. I've been very aware of the fact that I'm building a personal brand as I'm building my business brand, but the trust is coming from me
Yes.
mostly. Like, when I think of parties, I think of you, right? So you have that personal brand tied to it, which brings trust.
Yeah.
And with trust, then I would buy into whatever it is. If you say, hey, Party Slate is launching a magazine, wink, wink, or an e-magazine,
Yeah.
I would say, of course, I'm going to subscribe, because I know I trust Julie and I know
Yes.
the Party Slate brand, and I'm going to, or if you invite me to a webinar or
Yeah.
whatever, I trust you. So I trust the brand. And I
Yeah.
think people miss that, and they hide behind our brand. We did a whole clubhouse about stop hiding behind your brand. And people were like, I'm so shy and I don't
Yeah.
want to. When you make it about you, versus a value you're giving, and like you said, who you're serving,
Yeah.
who you're showing up for, you're going to worry less about what you look like
Yeah.
and all that other excuses why we shouldn't show
Yeah.
up personally. And then you're going to show up and show out. I would say show up and show out. And
Yeah.
just
And
do.
I love what you said about what stops people is I can't remember what your statement was, but something about fear, the fear of people not liking it and the fear of looking bad. And, I think people really have to get over the fear
Yeah.
and just put themselves out there. And again, back to writing things down. If you write down, like, you have to do one blog entry a month, the fear kind of goes away because you're like, hey, I committed to this. I need to
Yeah,
do it,
I did
and
it.
just get over the fear of, like, maybe it's not the best blog entry, but it's something that's personal to you and authentic, and it's an event that meant a lot that you're writing about, or giving a call out to a venue you really like. So you
Yeah.
just got to get over that fear of, will I look stupid, or will it not be widely, again, not every piece of content has to be a work of art. It really doesn't.
100%. And I've always said that your first one is probably going to be the worst one. It may
Yeah.
not, you may, just mess up. The tech, may not work. The lighting is poor. It doesn't matter as long as you did it.
Yes.
And then you're going to get better. But that feeling of I did it is so great, because
Yeah.
then it empowers you to do it again.
Yes.
And if you get one like, that's one person
Yeah.
that loved, and who cares if everybody doesn't like it,
Yeah.
right? That one person could be the person that you need
Yep.
even book your next gig. But if you don't show up and you
Yep.
don't
And
don't
also remember, even if, like, let's say you don't get a lot of likes, but you credited 6 of your partners, trust me, those partners saw the tag. They saw it, just like our crediting on Party Slate. When you credit the photographer and the venue, they get an email. And I've been told so many times, when they get you've been credited email,
yeah,
it's like that little adrenaline rush. Oh, wow, someone published on my behalf. They did all the work and I was credited, and now it shows up on my profile page.
yeah.
People like to see that. So even if it doesn't go viral and it's not a huge post, even those 5 people that are really important part of your personal network, they saw that post.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I think just showing up, I always say, like, your consistency is your magic,
Yeah.
and you're going to get better. It's no one has ever showed up for the first time and it's like, bam, the
Yep.
best thing ever. But I just feel like that the creating content, we talk about this all the time, and throwing in that personal part of your business and not hiding behind the brand name is
Yeah.
important. If we never met Julie, I'm like, who the hell is Party Slate? And where is this Julie of a person that no one has ever met? But when there's this warm and fuzzy feeling now that the person, I know what they look like, I know what they sound like, you know what I mean? And we chat, even if it's just on social media, it
Yeah.
may not be in this form. It's a connection that's personal and
Yes.
builds trust, and you're one step closer to the sale or whatever it is you're
Yeah.
doing.
And a brand really is, people, again, think it's about colors and design. I know people that are more sophisticated, they know it's about an experience, but a brand is about trust. And when you build a brand, it's a combination of, the experience on the website, the experience with the customer success team, what's Julie talking about, where is she speaking? So it's all these things together equal a brand. And at the root of a good brand is trust. And
Yeah.
so I think any way you can build that is going to help your business.
What things did you struggle with in the beginning? And you don't, I always say like I'm an introvert. People don't believe me, but I am.
I can't
But
believe that. Well, I'm married to an introvert, and I get that because introvert doesn't mean like you're not a great speaker and you
right,
don't like being with people. It just means you don't get energy by being with big crowds,
I
right? And
know.
I get energy by big crowds.
See, that's so I was gonna ask you tips for that. But for me, knowing that I am that way and it's easy for me to just bail, I force myself into marketing outreach. I force myself into leaving that comment.
Yeah.
I literally force myself into those uncomfortable initially. And then later on, I'm like, okay, Keshi, see, you didn't die. It's okay. And then you start to like it. And then you start to build great relationships and it gets better. But what tips do you have for those people that do not like big crowds and
Yes.
don't are just afraid to show up? Like I'm in this battle with my group right now and I'm like, we're gonna go live every month. And they're like, oh my God, okay, 2 weeks. I have to get my hair done, my nails have to be done. I'm like, oh my goodness, you
I
guys.
did my makeup today in like 3 minutes. Like again, you just have to show up. Like you just show up. And I think again, it goes back to, not everyone's going to feel as comfortable with Insta lives and things like that. But I just encourage you to try everything. Like try raising your hand on Clubhouse and getting on stage and asking a question. Try doing an Insta live and find out what feels right for you. But if you don't try it, you might feel, you might not ever know that you're really good at it.
Yeah. And some people are so good. I'm like, you're hiding your talents. Just get in front of a camera.
Get out there.
Might get a ring light. It'll give you more confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Put as many filters as you want on. I don't really know how to use those, but I like it.
Yeah. But just show
So
up, be authentic and keep what I'm hearing from you is to show up regardless, do it afraid and just keep putting out content. And I love the idea of what you mentioned that even if you don't have original content, sometimes it helps to reshare. And I know one person I know in social media that does that a lot is Jay Shetty. Like he would repost things that are about what he talks about to
mhm.
kind of back that up. So a lot of videos and all the motivational stuff are really, I think half of them are not his content.
Yeah.
I also believe in crediting where it came from. So that's another conversation.
Yeah, you definitely, we're big believers in crediting, as you know, you
Yes.
have to credit, but I think people love it when you share. I love it when people
Yeah.
share my posts. I mean, it's like amazing. It's like free marketing and also just shows they like what you posted. So you can be a great curator of other people's content
Yeah.
if you don't have the time or the topics that you're ready to talk about. So I think everyone would be surprised that there are topics they like to
So
talk
much.
about.
So many
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's even harder to narrow it down once you really just do a brain dump. I
Yeah.
just might grab a piece of paper and do a brain dump. You'd be amazed as to the ideas that are in your head. Just
Yeah.
as creatives, we have things that are trapped in our heads that
Yes.
we have to like just, or business owners just let out. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's again another reason I love this industry is there's so many great ideas, and I think the opposite of not doing anything is like trying to do too much. And
Yeah.
so just prioritizing. So let's say you have 10 ideas, focus on 3 of them and do those 3
Mhm.
before doing the other 7. And so that's kind of the opposite spectrum of doing nothing is trying to do too much. And that's one of the challenges at Party Slate is there's no shortage of ideas.
I know.
My co-founder always says that we haven't really shortage of ideas. It's just about prioritizing what will have the biggest impact for our premium members, what will have the biggest impact for the people that visit Party Slate, and then of course for the business and to help us grow.
But you guys are doing an amazing job. I'm super proud to be part of the Party Slate family.
We're big fans.
And same here. And I'm just looking forward to what's next, everything you guys are unleashing and the continued inspiration and motivation that you give people. I think this is beyond the industry because it's about parties and celebrations and just hope.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say in a time of just whatever this is, just chaos and
Yeah, I
confusion.
think, I mean, we really do believe, some people say, oh, a virtual event's going to permanently replace, corporate events. I'm like, there is not a chance that
Yeah,
that is going to happen. It's going to be hybrid. There's going to be big corporate events. I mean, when you go to these corporate events, a lot of the networking and the relationships that are meaningful happen at the dinner, happen at the bar, not during the session where you're actually just doing the training. Personal connection is something that we as humans need. So they're going to come back stronger than ever. I believe
yeah,
that
yeah.
100%.
That is my prayer, and I know it will. We just have to hang tight
Hang tight.
and just keep doing what you can in the meantime and not slowing
Yeah,
down. I think
absolutely.
that pause or that break should not happen. Just keep going. Julie, you're amazing. Thank you
So
for being
great talking to you.
So we have some finale questions that I'm going to ask you, and we ask every guest. So I have 3 questions or 2. One, what is your definition of success?
That's a good question. I think my definition of success is, building something amazing that really helps people with a team you love. Of
Hmm.
course, yes, do I want financial success? I do, but that's not my primary driver. I love building things, and I love building things with smart people that inspire me, and I love helping people, and I think that's my definition.
Amazing. I love that. Okay, 2. If you could have lunch with anyone, who would it be, and what one question would you ask them?
Um, well, I'm a huge fan of Michelle Obama. I'm like obsessed with what she says, what she wears, how she carries herself. So I guess I would say Michelle Obama, or Oprah is right after her. But Michelle, I would say, I would love to know what's next for her.
Hmm. I just ordered her book because I've heard great
I
things.
read it. It's amazing.
I've heard, so I can't wait. And
Yes.
it's super late. What took me so long? But like, she's amazing, and that's
I
usually
love biographies. I'm
yeah.
obsessed with biographies. So I've read like every celebrity biography. I'm listening to the Obama audiobook right now. It's really good too, but her book is amazing.
I have heard, and I can't wait. Is there a book in the future for you?
Say that again for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you have a book, but that's something I've never, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm one day at a time right now, but possibly.
Okay. Well, I'm dreaming of a party slate, at least digital magazine, one to
Yes.
twice a year. So,
Yeah.
and you got all the content, so it's
Yes,
just
we
laying
do.
out and
I
just
do.
bringing more joy to the world.
I know.
I'm not asking for
We
much,
want
but
to
I think
share the inspiration in multiple ways.
for sure. Okay. How can our listeners find you?
So we're just at partyslate.com. And if you are an event professional or a venue, just go to partyslate.com/pro, PRO, and you can learn more about how you can share your work on Partyslate. And of course, Instagram being our #1 channel, we would love for you to follow us on Instagram at Partyslate.
And you're on Clubhouse as well. Are you?
Clubhouse, I just joined, and we're going to be doing Clubhouses about once a week on different
Yeah.
topics. Maybe, I believe I'm joining one of yours, and we'll do stuff together. I'm obsessed with this new platform, and my husband's like, "Are you on Clubhouse again?" I'm like,
Like,
"Yes." It's like 10 o'clock
like,
at
is
night.
that
So
Clubhouse? I'm like, I'm
yeah,
like, I'm just in and out. But
yeah,
it's
I'm going to have to be careful on the time for Clubhouse because I think it's a very valuable platform, but I think you're going to have to limit yourself. Otherwise, you could be drawn in so many ways because there's tons of venture capital rooms and startup rooms. There's event professional rooms. There's wedding rooms. So I really love it, but I'm
there's
gonna limit myself.
yeah, I think you just pick your thing and get your
Yes.
nuggets and then just go back to work because
And
then
thank you for joining our first Clubhouse, Lakeshi.
oh,
I
it was
a
amazing.
appointment we did on Instagram, and we had about 90 people, coming in and out. And for our first one, that was great.
That's fantastic. See,
Yeah.
people love you guys. So, but thank you so much, Julie. I hate to let you go, but see, we've been talking for an hour and just like that.
Time
Oh,
flew. So thank you so much for having me. Big
thank
fan of what
you.
you're doing and your content marketing. Our team loves you, and thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.